We've heard every excuse in the world for some of the failures of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but at some point, everybody has to accept reality, that this has been a massive disappointment for Disney. You can't get around that. Despite all the work that the show media has been doing over the past 2 years to convince you otherwise, everybody is finally coming around and saying, you know what? You can't deny reality. You can't deny the numbers. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Marvel Studios' box office slump shows limits of Disney's superhero universe. And even though you have to pay to access the Wall Street Journal, which I'm not going to do, thankfully, someone at Inside the Magic kind of wrote an article with all the same numbers that we can look at and break it down from that Wall Street Journal article. But we may as well get into the most recent updates involving the most recent Marvel release, and that's Thor: Love and Thunder. Despite the fact that after the opening weekend, everybody said, oh my gosh, this is just the most incredible success ever. It's the best opening we've ever seen for a Thor movie. How could you deny the incredible success that is Thor: Love and Thunder? Well, in reality, now in its 4th weekend and Minions in its 5th weekend, Minions is outpacing Thor: Love and Thunder. And we heard a lot of people try to say that Thor: Love and Thunder, as it just has finally broken even after a month of release with that massive $250 million budget. We heard, you know, it might challenge Thor Ragnarok numbers. No. There's no way, potentially, that it gets to $850 million. Right now, we're looking at probably $700 million-ish, just like so many of us, including myself, said after that opening weekend. You know what a better comparison might be? Thor: The Dark World. $644 million. That might be a better comparison for Thor: Love and Thunder. And if people told you before that this would just kind of sneak past Thor: The Dark World, do you think that all these MCU shills, that all these people would have considered this, oh, it's a massive success? Especially considering Thor: The Dark World cost $150 million to make. Thor Ragnarok cost $250 million. But it's following the trend that we've seen from Marvel that so many people have finally had to recognize. That when you prioritize things other than storytelling, when you prioritize identity politics and virtue signaling, all these other things that inevitably push your audience away, it might not work for you in the long run. And that's what we're seeing with Phase 4. Marvel loses hundreds of millions. Disney's most profitable studio in a bit of a slump. For years, since Robert Downey Jr. debuted as Tony Stark, Kevin Feige's MCU has reigned supreme at the box office. And in fact, at the global box office, 3 of the top 7 movies all time are MCU films: Endgame, Infinity War, and Spider-Man: No Way Home. Now, it's very unfortunate for Disney and for Marvel Studios that that's a Sony product, and Sony got 75% of the box office proceeds from that movie. Maybe that's why it stands so far away from what we've seen from the rest of Disney during this same Phase 4 stretch. Now, however, it seems Marvel Studios, Disney's most profitable movie house, might be hitting a bit of a slump. According to Wall Street Journal, the superhero films, while still incredibly popular, have lost hundreds of millions of dollars recently compared to their early predecessors. Since Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, the studio has produced 25 superhero films that have grossed $25 billion worldwide, making it one of the highest earning film studios in Hollywood history. Among them are Endgame, Infinity War, which we know of, and 8 more that topped $1 billion. But since the beginning of 2021, the average global box office of the 6 films produced by Marvel has fallen to $773 million, roughly half of the $1.5 billion average of the previous 6 films. That is the momentum completely falling away. And since I see it sitting here, let's take a moment and give a shout out to somebody I'm partnered with, Meta PCs. That's what I'm using right now. The best PC I've ever had. Great people over there. Whether you need a pre-built PC, whether you want one custom built for you specifically, whatever you want, they've got it all. Go check out Meta PCs. Link will be in the description and the pinned comment. Use code RKOutpost for a discount. The outlet also reported Eternals, $402 million. Shang-Chi, $420 million, what a great success. And Black Widow, $373 million, have stuck out as major flops, at least by the standards of Marvel movies' previous box office performances. That's the whole thing. When it comes to both, right? When it comes to both Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder and Shang-Chi, these movies that have just barely cracked even, right? That is not to be considered some sort of grand success. That's not what they're doing. You don't front like hundreds of millions of dollars to break even. That's not what you do. That's not considered success for these major movie studios at all. Critical reception of the films has suffered. According to Rotten Tomatoes, a website that tracks the movie reviews, the last 6 titles average a 75% critic approval compared to an 88.5. I don't really care about that part, to be honest. I don't care too much about what the critics think about something. It's more about the energy that you see from everyone involved in it. And the bottom line is so many people just aren't seeing these anymore. It's not even they're going to see it and they're saying, oh, it sucked. They're just not going to see it. However, other metrics prove it's all how you look at things. Now, a lot of it, too, they're trying to explain away. Well, maybe COVID was a factor. You know what? There's some out there called a Top Gun Maverick. COVID certainly didn't affect that. The one shining spot of the MCU, Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh, weird. $2 billion in the box office. You didn't blame COVID for that? But somehow you find a way to blame everything else, every other failure, something to do with the pandemic. You cannot deny the reality at this point that a movie which people were comparing to Thor Ragnarok, they thought it was going to beat Thor Ragnarok. They thought you're looking at 900 million. Even some people said it would go beyond Multiverse of Madness. Now, what are we going to see with Thor Love and Thunder? It's going to come in around maybe the $700 million, $720 million mark. This is a massive disappointment for Disney and for Marvel, and anyone who says differently is just either being completely disingenuous or they have no idea what they're talking about. They have no concept of reality. Everyone is finally seeing the truth behind this Marvel Phase 4. It's a disappointment. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.